This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Knup, and welcome to the Knup Sports Show.
What's up, everyone? Rodney Knup from the Knup Sports Podcast. We're back. After taking a little hiatus, we decided it's time to come back and get into some regular podcasting routine going on here. We're hoping to bring you lots of interviews and lots of sports talk, not just in the betting world. Of course, at Knup Sports, KNUPSports.com, we bring you plays of the day and have a lot of talk about our latest betting odds and different things like that. But this podcast is kind of going to transform into anything sports. We are Knup Sports, so anything in the sports realm, and we're going to hit it. So if you have any suggestions, have any guests that you'd like to join on the show, feel free to get a hold of us, knupsports@gmail.com. Of course, I'm Rodney, along with Ryan and Tom, throughout the time you'll be listening into the Knup Sports Podcast. Again, you can find us at knupsports.com. All right, I wanted to move to a little college basketball, and I know we're going to be talking lots of college basketball over the next 2 or 3 weeks as we approach the middle of March. A couple days till the Selection Sunday, and I just kind of wanted to run down some of the teams I think you should be watching in the NCAA Tournament. And, of course, I'm never real good at the bracket contest, and speaking of that, we'll have some bracket contests going up here in the next couple of days. Of course, there's contests all over the place. I myself run a few individual contests, so make sure you get in those. Always a great time, and definitely keeps you involved within the world of college basketball. But just a few teams that maybe are under the radar for the NCAA championship. Of course, brackets come out this weekend, so we'll start to know matchups. We'll start to know kind of the path for each team to take. But before we even look at the path, just a few teams that I wanted to throw out there as conference tournaments are playing right now and throughout the rest of the day, night, and throughout the weekend. But Vegas odds, of course, have Duke as the number one favorite. I am not picking the Blue Devils to win the national championship. I'm just a little nervous with Zion Williamson and how he's going to come back into action. You know, he did sit out several weeks, and I just don't think Duke shoots the basketball well enough to win a national championship. That 9-4, I'm not taking the Blue Devils to win the national championship. I also am going to shy away from number 2, which is Gonzaga. Of course, they just lost the other day in their conference championship. Still should be a 1 seed, but at 9-2 odds is at least where I got it at UWager. Not going to go with the Bulldogs either. Virginia's a little bit scary. I think there's something to be said for Virginia this year, of course, losing in the first round last year to UMBC. I worry about how well they're going to score. Push comes to shove, can they score enough to win a tournament game, a big tournament game? Winners of the ACC going 28-2, 16-2 in ACC play. That's impressive. And the kind of 3 of the top 4 teams come from the ACC as far as betting odds. But I'm not necessarily going all out against them. I'd like to see their route. But it's tough pulling that 6-1 trigger with last year's case. But also, speaking of that, you got to think that they're going to be hungry and figure out a way to not obviously come away disappointed this year. North Carolina's next at 10-1. North Carolina is probably one of the teams I would bet on. I like North Carolina's team, young talent, also some veterans guys that Luke May I think is an incredible kind of a glue guy, leader guy, and of course the young guys around him. I think they're going to go underlooked. Obviously, it'll depend on how their bracket sets up for them. What region they go to, who their matchups are. But North Carolina at 10-1, I think could be a sneaky, because if you're going with ACC, I think a lot of people are going to go Duke. I think you'll get some Virginia because of the redemption factor. I don't know. I don't know about North Carolina. Of course, they do have the Jordan trademark, of course, so there's a lot of North Carolina fans. I wonder about them. Kentucky, another blue blood at 12-1. I think could be another team you could bet on. Another very talented team. A coach that's been there before, John Calipari. Just getting ready to put together a little my thoughts on John Calipari, Bill Self. There's been some talk about those two and kind of their tournament resumes and one against the other. Like what John Calipari does. Don't necessarily know if he's my favorite person, but at 12-1, you got to look at the Kentucky Wildcats. Kind of going down the line, Michigan State at 12-1. Too sporadic for me. We have seen it before, but I think some of the past success is a little overblown. It's been a few years. I mean, since we really saw a deep Michigan State run. Not so sure this year's green and white have what it takes. I mean, Big Ten, again, is pretty powerful at the top. Michigan State, and Purdue. Outside of that, I'm just not sure how tested they were out of the Big Ten. You know me, you know my thoughts on the Big Ten and kind of how I've not boo-hooed them over the last several years. So, I don't know. I'm not sure on on Michigan State. Tennessee's next at 12-1. I think they're a team that could go far, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a team that gets beat early as well. And then I wanted to move to Michigan. Michigan, I just got done talking about the Big Ten, and at 16-1, I do like the Michigan Wolverines. John Beilein is a tremendous coach. They have shown the ability to go deep before. They do have toughness. They can shoot the ball. They do play defense. One of the best defensive teams in the country. At 16-1, I would not be afraid to pull the trigger on the Michigan Wolverines. Of course, pending their matchup, looking at maybe a 2 seed, depending how they do in the Big Ten tournament. Don't think they have a chance of grabbing a 1 seed, but depending on their region, depending on their matchup, 16-1 could be a pretty decent odds. Texas Tech is the first team out of the Big 12. I've as a Kansas basketball fan, kind of favored the Big 12 a little bit, but at 18-1, not so sure I can take the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Again, kind of like Virginia, not sure if they shoot the ball well enough to win the big games. So it's kind of a team I'll shy away from there. Houston's kind of an unknown, 30-1. Why not? I mean, yeah, they haven't been tested as well as some of these bigger schools, but man, they're pretty talented. They can get up and down the floor with the best of them. I think they can guard it well enough to win a big game late in the tournament. 30-1 wouldn't be shocked to go there, especially if you look at some of the others at 30-1. Kansas State can't go there. They did have that run last year. Just don't see it this year. Offensively challenged a little bit with some injuries. And then Purdue is also 30-1, Nevada 40-1. Two teams I'm not taking to the Final Four. Again, things could change with the matchups with the bracket, but those two teams, if I'm choosing any of those, I'm actually taking Houston at 30-1 over some of those other teams. Kind of looking down the list, my Kansas Jayhawks have moved all the way to 80-1. No way. You might think, well, there's a blue blood. Why did they get bumped so far down? We're not very good. You'll find out here in the Big 12 tournament, you've seen throughout the regular season that this is actually one of the worst teams that Bill Self has had since he's been in Lawrence. No true leadership. Don't have that guy that's going to knock down a shot when you need it late. So even at 80-1, I mean, I guess if you wanted to toss a few dollars down, that would be fine. But don't expect Kansas to pay off for you to win a national championship. But one team I did want to talk about down there is the defending national champion Villanova Wildcats. Now, 60-1 odds, they are the top seed out of the Big East. This team has had a pretty good year. Now, they're not unbeatable. That's not the type of season they're having. But don't be surprised. Jay Wright's shown it twice here in the last couple years that he can get there and win the big thing. I'm not putting it past Villanova at 60-1. I mean, if you look at the teams that are 60-1, you got LSU and Marquette at 55-1. LSU's in all sorts of problems with Will Wade and, of course, their scandal that's going on. Marquette lost 3 or 4 in a row heading into the Big East tournament. Florida State's pretty talented at 60-1, but if I'm taking anybody at 60-1, it's going to be the battle-tested Villanova Wildcats. Moving down the line, Big Ten has Wisconsin at 85-1, and then there's a whole slew of teams at 100-1, including Louisville, Mississippi State, Syracuse. Can't take any of those. Of course, mid-major Buffalo down there at 150-1. There's going to be a lot of talk about them. I don't know if they can win 4 games, depending on their route. Moving on down the line, I can't see anybody else winning the national championship outside of that. So, if you're looking for who I'm recommending, I've got you at North Carolina 10-1. I could throw a few dollars on Kentucky 12-1. I definitely love Michigan at 16-1. I think they're a team that they certainly can win it all. Houston, the Cougars, if you're looking for good value at 30-1, why not? And then going down the list, love Villanova for that opportunity at 60-1. Think that's great value. And that kind of rounds out the list of teams I would recommend betting on, of course, winning the NCAA National Championship. So just kind of wanted to give some thoughts there as the Knup Sports podcast comes back. I know it's just me rambling back and forth on the NCAA tournament, but we are back and we are hoping to bring some great interviews, just kind of getting started, kickstarting, pending on our schedule and who we can line up. If you go to knupsports.com, we are getting ready for the Masters Golf Tournament, and Tom has put together a fantastic book review, hole-by-hole history of America's Golf Classic. I highly recommend that. He's done a great job with that. Kind of gives a unique approach to looking at the Masters, again, hole-by-hole. The conference tournaments are coming to an end. By the time you hear this, they could be ending, depending on when you're going to listen to this throughout the weekend. But we have the best odds there. Then some of the major tennis tournaments coming up. We are Knup Sports, so we do try to cover pretty much all the sports possible. We start to get into a little AAF, hoping to get some AAF love coming. We got some MLS odds if you're a soccer guy. The key schedule coming up, and of course college basketball championship odds, the odds I just talked to you about, which have changed over the last couple of days. Major League Baseball coming up, Stanley Cup playoffs coming up, NBA playoffs coming up. So all those things you can find right on our front page at knupsports.com, knupsports.com. And of course all the bracket contests and things like that will come up as well. We did hit a milestone in our free newsletter. Okay, we send a free newsletter to you every day. We would appreciate you joining that. I mean, we spend the time putting it together for you. We did reach a milestone, and the followers we have for that. Now we're obviously wanting to reach our next milestone. So just give it a follow. Take a look at it each morning. It doesn't take very long. We try to put some good thoughts together, but also don't want to take too much of your time. So just a 2-minute read. It talks about the sports for the day, and then it gives you a free play of the day, which as I speak is on a 7-game winning streak. So we are looking to help you make money on sports, and then of course Knup Solutions, our business, of course, is typically looking for sports writers and sports publishers and guys to be on podcasts that you just love the sport, love all the sports, and want to put their thoughts together and kind of join us and be a nice little community here. So that's kind of what we're hoping for in our podcast. So if you would obviously rate our show, give the high praise, and follow along, we would greatly appreciate that. That allows people like you that want this to be an everyday part of your day, that want to tune in and want to find out more about sports and just kind of throw ideas out there. It gives them the opportunity to see us a little bit easier if you click the like button and subscribe to us. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. We would much appreciate that. I'll wrap up the show for the day. This is the Knup Sports Podcast, talking college basketball. We'll have some more coming up as the brackets come out. We hope to bring you kind of a rundown of the bracket, the talk about the bracket version on Monday. And then, of course, you can get in the bracket contest and get your thoughts in as well. We would appreciate you joining us. If you go to Cappers Lounge, CAPPERS, capperslounge.com, we have all of our picks there, and we would appreciate you joining there. It's kind of a partner with us of all the different sports and all the betting picks that we make. There's others inside the industry that join us there. So capperslounge.com, put your picks out there and get other people's thoughts. So this is Rodney Newpel from the Knup Sports Podcast. We hope you have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. So long for just a while.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Knup Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at knupsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.